Hi, Siva. Thank you so much for joining us on Blitz Business. It's a pleasure to have you.
Likewise, Ashish, thanks for having me. Really appreciate.
Awesome. Let's get started. So, first thing first, Siva, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, Ashish. So I've been an entrepreneur for the last more than a decade and a half. So in fact, I've never worked for anybody in my life. So I graduated from a management degree in the U.S. and then just jumped into entrepreneurship at that point because I had an opportunity to kind of do a part-time position back then, which required me doing some work outside of the company, and then I decided to do that in India, and it worked out to be very successful. And I figured, hey, here is a business opportunity where you can start something up offshore while being in the US, and it's relatively easy to manage and mostly it works. So why don't I build that as a business model? And that's kind of how I started. That's how Vserve came about. So yeah, I mean, so that's kind of a little bit of the backstory, and then I've been in the outsourcing world for, like I said, more than a decade and a half. Different kind of variations. Right early on, we started off more very straightforward, low end data and coding work, but then very soon we realized that there is a need for us to keep upgrading our skills, become better. It's not enough that we just do labor arbitrage. It also has to be that we're continuously adding value to the customers in their journey, and that's how it turned out. We've been fortunate. We're more than 600 people now as a company, and yeah, I mean, our focus right now is in the e-commerce space, where we work with several large and mid-market customers, primarily out of the US.
So, how the market, because this is a very interesting space. So, how has the market shifted from the labor arbitrage, which you just mentioned, right? I mean, has it really shifted that much, or is it still like I still remember? So, I come from software background and people talking in terms of we want these many bodies, like if you talk to like the OG players of this game. So has it really changed that much in terms of like
So that's it's a little bit of a yes and a no kind of answer, Ashish. So it has changed in terms of the expectation from the customer for sure. With automation and AI recently, the market has kind of moved rapidly towards, hey, what's the value you can add to me, and also give me a great price point, right? So it's no more about, hey, if you can replace a person that I'm paying, say, $50 an hour for with a $25 person, that's a win. So that used to be the case, say 20 years back, or even like 10 years back. But right now it's about, hey, yes, there will be cost savings. I understand that. But what I also understand is there might be some additional costs associated with, managing the teams and all those things. So that all adds up. But beyond that, what's the competitive advantage that you can give me as a company versus somebody else, right? So service providers and people are being picked on that basis versus just plain vanilla. Oh, okay, I'm able to replace a person from a higher cost with a lower cost, and so I'm going to go with you. So from that perspective, the market has changed dramatically.
so what are
Right now,
those
the players.
factors that are like which
So,
differentiate?
so let's say, first of all, it's about value add, right? So, what is the capability set that that team or that organization is bringing in, which is going to dramatically improve my ability to deliver, right? Like, for example, if there is, they're doing a SAP implementation, then they're looking at functional consultants and experts who have experience, 5 years, 7 years working in that domain, working in that area, to come in along with you. So it's not enough that I bring in a consultant who also comes at a low price and get away with it. So the customers are becoming a lot more discerning from that perspective and saying, hey, I want a lot of value from you also at a lower cost, versus just saying, I'm just going to take a lower cost solutions, actually. So from that perspective, it's changed a little bit, and I think it's going to change a lot more rapidly, say in the next few years, just because of ChatGPT and AI and the whole generative models that have come about, where they're seeing that most of even the grunt administrative work can be effectively done by these models. So it's kind of, there's a lot more pressure on people like us to add more value than even just plain vanilla, business knowledge. I think it has to be something beyond that, and we're still kind of trying to figure that out.
Then how will you solve it? Like it's like AI is coming after your jobs first. So what are you going to do to? I mean, you
So
mentioned very.
I don't think most of us in this industry have a good solution yet, but I think there are pieces of it that are kind of forming as we speak. And as an organization, of course, first we are embracing AI, right? So we are making everybody AI enabled. So again, it's a great productivity enhancing tool. People see productivity improvement as high as like 25, 30% right now. And that's just going to get better and better. So that's already there, right? So we already saying, hey, we have this person who can do a great job. But yeah, once AI enabled, his productivity goes up 30%. So that's already a given. So that's something that we're already doing, making sure we are retraining our teams to embrace AI, become ready with AI tools. So that's a big one in my mind. Then I think the secondary part is going to be, my prediction is there is going to be this move away from SaaS solutions in a big way to more custom built solutions for organizations as the cost of developing these tools become higher and higher. And as that happens, I think we want to be placed in a position where we bring in functional expertise and also, dev expertise to build custom solutions rather than, force companies to use multiple SaaS solutions, which they do today, just because of the cost savings that they have. So again, that's another angle which is still evolving, but we're working on it.
But cost wouldn't ever should decrease because if you're using tools and developer roles is getting reduced, so the cost of the entire stack, like I mean, if you theoretically see like if you were building a website in 2000 versus now, I mean, it's the barrier has been removed. You can get the thing done in $10, right? So isn't the cost is going down of development?
So yeah, so let me elaborate on that. To your example, right? So a website, right? So it used to take, let's say, $1,000 back then to develop, and today it's like $100, right? So it's easier for us to do a custom, like just an example. So it's like easier for us to do a custom build out, using all the the tools that we have. So what I'm kind of foreseeing is a very similar kind of an outlook for some of the SaaS tools that people are using today, right? So right now, they're paying like $50 a seat. You're using 10 seats, so it's like $500 a month, which adds up to maybe like $40,000-$50,000 over its lifetime. Versus if I can do that same build out at say $20,000 because of all the automation that AI and generative intelligence is going to bring in, and then also custom build exactly to your needs, I'm going to not only save money on the long run, but also make you more effective because you as a business has a unique process and you have won and you've gotten here because of that unique process. So if I can design the tools to embrace that unique process instead of trying to fit that tool into my box, which is what SaaS solutions do, then I feel we have an edge over some of the others
So
here.
that's interesting. So I think then what you're trying to say is from outsourcing to insourcing, you built everything in within with the.
Right. So yeah, so it's I think that's where the market is going to go because my prediction is in another couple of years it's just going to become dramatically cheaper to build out your own stuff. Right. So if it were, of course, the SaaS guys are also going to lower their price, but customers want tailor-made solutions to them. So that's a real need. And SaaS in my mind is a compromise. Yes, SaaS sometimes they're able to bring in, new best practices and so forth. But overall, customers would any day love to build a solution which exactly fits their needs. And I think that's going to give them a better chance of winning in the market versus just being like everybody else using the same SaaS tools, having the same processes. I think that's actually a disadvantage for a successful.
It's a very interesting point. Let's take it a little further. So what if instead of bringing completely in-house, the SaaS company, all the SaaS company changes their business. They see this trend happening, right? They're like, it doesn't work anyway now. We will offer you customization. Like the industry totally shift. I mean, the SaaS vendors itself, because it will be very hard to remove these guys, right? They won't just go out of the business one fine day, right? So they will adapt, right, accordingly. So they may also become competition to you. At the end of the day, they will be like, we have a stack. customized for you.
So I think there are a couple of issues there, Ashish, that the SaaS companies might face. One is the scale issue, right? So like the moment you get into the customization business, then your ability to kind of have exponential revenue growth at fixed cost goes away, right? So again, so they kind of falling back into more of a custom build out vendor, and what leads to that is they're not going to be able to have those kind of crazy valuable multiples and valuations and ability to burn money. So what that's going to do is to kind of level the playing field out a little bit more, to say, hey, it's a true blue software developer who's really AI enabled would have like an equally good shot at the customer versus the SaaS tool provider, because he can no more kind of benefit by the scale efficiencies he's getting, the funding he's getting from the markets because of the scale efficiency. So all of those are going to be challenged quite a bit, and I think that's an opportunity for some of us, in my mind, versus others.
That's a great, I mean, thought. I mean, if the industry is moving and if it really, I mean, that's going to change many aspects, valuation, funding, and finally, service companies will be like, now is our time.
Possibly. I mean, that's kind of my angle to it, and I hope I'm right. But I'm sure there are like a lot of smart people trying to figure this out. Yes.
No, but that's true. I mean, people have started to doubt SaaS model because it's like even the scalability is not there for many SaaS companies if you look at it really. So maybe, I mean, it's an interesting proposition. We'll
Correct.
have a episode 2 on this one, how it market evolves. So then moving on, Siva, so what is, you mentioned 600 people. So what is the current requirement? Let's understand. People listening, if someone is graduating right now, they're listening to this, they want to be part of the workforce. What is the current sort of requirement you are seeing since you are in the business? Like AI, ML, that piece is also kicking, but help us understand what is the requirement coming from which sectors, healthcare, etc.
So I think what we are seeing is a strong need for functional expertise. Again, because functional knowledge is becoming more and more important rather than just the.
What is
So
functional?
let's say supply chain, right? So supply chain. So if we have to go in and optimize supply chain, I think it's more important right now, at least in our world and the kind of customers that we work with, which is largely retailers, e-commerce players, and distributors. So what's at a premium today is functional knowledge on how things work, what are the breakpoints, how to optimize on those weak points and make it better. So that's becoming more and more critical, and that's a skill set I think is becoming very valuable. And like to my point, as we go out and do these custom build outs, in my mind, that skill set is going to be more in demand versus say plain vanilla somebody who can kind of build widgets and stuff like that. So
Basically, I mean, domain expertise of
exactly.
that.
So I think that's kind of where the real needs are coming from. So that's where maybe for some of the people who are just graduating, my suggestion is to develop deep expertise in certain areas, and then that's going to kind of help you grow in that area, because I think the specialists are always going to be valuable because they are the ones who are going to do the automation. They are going to one who's going to enable companies embrace automation in a faster way, better way, figure things out easier. So always kind of look for opportunities there.
Understood. Any other second, third recommendation, or you are sold on this?
So again, beyond that, I think the plain vanilla developers and the KPO BPO folks, I think there is going to be a huge stress on the productivity of these people just because of all the AI enablement which is coming about. For those folks, my recommendation would be to embrace AI in a big way, figure out how to maximize the tools that are coming out, and they're like new ones coming out, one pretty much one a day, and one is better than the other, and every day we are learning and fascinated by some of the things that these tools can do. So the faster you can kind of get on top of them, the faster you can kind of understand, internalize them, and make them kind of native to the way you work, I think the better your chances of success.
Any favorite tool which is part of your workflow?
I mean, so we've used all kinds of generative AI. We keep experimenting with them, and we've kind of integrated, done several integrations, both on the operation side and also on the sales and marketing side. And we've seen a lot of success. I don't want to name tools here, but most of them do a great job if you can pick the right use case for them. And then it's all about understanding how to maximize each one's strength, right? So
Excellent. What's that use case you really?
I mean, so there are so many, right? So like for example, this whole marketing communication, right? So we can, I'm convinced that we could, customize at scale using AI to communicate to that individual customer his exact pain point and the solution we can give him by using this enormous amount of knowledge that we have to solve a large number of problems, and then also kind of matching it exactly with that one or two problem that he has, and then communicating to him that messaging very effectively. I think AI can do this at scale. I can reach out to maybe 100, maybe 1,000 people and talk to them as if it's like a customized solution, and I can do that effectively using AI, right? So again, there are different tools to do that, but that is possible today, which is not possible before. We would just send out a generic messaging, through social media, through all the other channels. But now I can talk to him exactly on his pain point, and that's a big change. And I think that's a use case that I'm like really sold on. I think that can make a big difference to the whole sales and marketing effort, because you're not just kind of blasting things and hoping for results. You're actually talking about people's specific problems and specific solutions for each one of them, and so that makes the whole process a lot more meaningful for both of us, not only the seller but also the buyer, because he doesn't have to go through 100 pieces of garbage to figure out which is the right one for him. He can quickly identify, okay, this guy understands my problem, he has a solution, let me talk to him and kind of build on that. So that's kind of the good, some of the good things that I'm seeing coming out of this already.
That's a pretty good use case. I'll agree with that in terms of targeted messaging, sort of depending upon that. And yeah, if you're doing at scale, and if those target messaging can really help convert or whatever the KPIs of the yeah, that's pretty powerful. So then, sort of moving on, Siva, let's understand if someone wants to start an outsourcing business. Like, let's look at that lens. Someone just thinking, because outsourcing business, if you think from a perspective, it's less capital intensive, right? Because you are sort of delivering, executing once you have something in hand, and it's still something someone can start. And we have many people who wants to start stuff. So let's break it down. Help us understand how does it work. What is the economics of outsourcing?
Sure. So I think like we started off talking about, it's largely still arbitrage and a resource availability kind of game, right? So that's kind of maybe one of the fundamentals is to realize, hey, how are we going to leverage on being at the right place to leverage the resources that I need, and then also getting it at a price which makes sense to the customer. So those two kind of already will make your life a lot easier if you can figure that out. And the second most important thing is finding your niche, right? I think the day of a generalist outsourcer is gone already. I think that's where the TCSs are and the Infosys are. So that day is gone, like 20 years back. So they've already taken that spot. They have it well covered, and it's great for companies who've been able to kind of leverage their opportunity. But if you want to start today, I think the generalist outsourcer position is already taken. There are enough and more companies today who can fill that gap for the huge spectrum of different size of companies who are looking to outsource. So the gap is really in the niches. If you can go in and solve a problem that a large company doesn't care to solve today, doesn't want to solve today because it's not economical, or it's just not in their radar already.
Give us an example.
Let's say, let's talk about a typical example would be financial insights, right? So it's so hard to customize financial insights effectively to a business owner, right? Because his needs is unique. And it's hard for a company at scale, at a certain scale, to get to that level, right? So I do not want to be doing that. I cannot do it cost effectively. So if you could figure out a way through automation and through your specific knowledge in that domain to give him that insight, for somebody who's not a tech financial person, he's like a techie, he doesn't care anything about finances. He's passionate about what his trade is, and he wants to just grow it, but finance is a necessary evil for an entrepreneur. So If you can solve it for them, right, and figure out a way to scale it, again, that's a niche. So
So
if
when
today the cost of getting financial advice, let's say in the US, is $2,000 a month, right? So a half decent CPA who would give you insights is going to charge you $2,000 to kind of simplify your numbers and dumbify it and give it to you in a way you will understand as a business owner. So if you could figure that out, I think that's a great opportunity. But it's hard to figure out, and people are, I know, they are working to solve for it. But again, in my mind, those are the niches that are yet unexplored, which is like a combination of subject matter expertise and customization.
it's also like extension could be lawyers in US charges, So and what's your niche, Siva?
So we started off as an e-commerce player. Like I said, like 6 years back, e-commerce was a niche, right? So everybody said, oh, okay, I also, I'm an e-commerce. So that used to be a thing. But again, it's not a niche anymore, right? Everybody who sells anything in the market today has to be an e-commerce player, has to be an omni-commerce kind of player, omni-channel player. You can't say, oh, I will not sell online, and I'll only sell. So that day is gone. So it used to be a niche back then, 7, 8 years back. We picked that niche, and so we had traction because we were kind of addressing a unique kind of emerging opportunity. And I'm sure there are like hundreds more like that today for emerging entrepreneurs. I don't know what it is. I'd be in it if I knew, but every individual person, I'm sure, from his vantage point, will have visibility to that. So he just
Isn't
has to pick that and grow.
isn't it AI sort of resources, like really someone who's good at it or something? Not data science, I'm not saying data science, like, but something plus. I don't know.
I'm absolutely sure there are like so many kind of wrappers that you can put on AI and make it do so many things, right? So I can easily predict there'll be like 100 more new opportunities we haven't even thought of using AI and putting wrappers on top of it, and solving for certain problems. I can easily see that coming in the next couple of years. That's just my feeling.
And Siva, if you were given an opportunity to go back in time, okay, it's a tricky question now. If you were given an opportunity to go back in time, you could have done a different business. What would that be?
I mean, of course, the one of the big disadvantages in our business, like Ellie said, it's very capital light. It's very, let's say,
The moat is very less.
yeah.
Anyone
So
can.
there's very little more. So, and then of course it's also a very linear business. So for every additional dollar of revenue, I have to spend, like, say, 30 cents or 40 cents, whatever it is. So that's very linear from that perspective. So one of the things I'd have loved to do is to figure out a space here which is a little bit more exponential in terms of results. And again,
Build
we've
a
tried a
SaaS
few
product.
things.
Build a SaaS product.
uh, I we have actually tried a few things. The problem is, it's like the DNA between like a services company and a SaaS company are completely different. So I'm convinced that, if I want to be a services company, I cannot be a SaaS company. I haven't seen a legitimate company which can do both yet at scale. So I'm kind of happy where I am, but potentially, in my next effort, I'd like to do something which is a lot more scalable. I don't know if SaaS is the right way to go given what I'm seeing in the AI world, but something a lot more scalable is what I would love to do, Ashish. Yes.
That's the $1 million question. If not
Yes.
SaaS, what it is.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I had the opportunity to meet like many services company and exactly the same words. It's not in our DNA. We have tried it. And it's something, once you have built that structure, that corporate organization, and then you try to be like, I'll do product, it just doesn't. It
I
doesn't.
mean, it's such a mindset difference, right? So we were so used to be profitable day one. There's never been a month in our life history, Ashish, that we made a loss, right? So it's just not in our DNA. It's because it's so kind of incremental. So it's hard for us to say, okay, I'm going to invest like this huge amount of money up front and spend this huge amount of money, marketing it, and then hope I'll find results. So it's like it's the game is completely different. And no matter how much you can kind of put pressure on from top down, saying, oh, we will give you the resources, it's just not the right mindset for our people, because they're not here to take that kind of bets, which the SaaS folks, I feel, intuitively can
As
embrace.
as people can sleep through in this scenario, service people
Yeah.
will be like, God, how will I pay bills? What will happen? There will be 10 scenarios running in the head. I can.
So true. So
Yeah.
true.
So then what's the next thing for you, Siva? Then what are you planning? Scale this, identify something else? Like what's your milestone you want to achieve? We sort of touched upon something fine scalable, but what's the milestone you're looking? Add more workforce?
Sure. So I think there is huge growth that we are seeing already. Huge challenges with AI and how that evolves and how that kind of affects our industry. That's the unknown. My take is it's going to be a big positive for us. I think it's going to enable us to be more effective. It's going to enable us to explore new opportunities that we have not been able to explore so far. So pretty bullish about it. And then we have kind of identified a couple of niches where we are getting serious scale. So like for example, industrial distribution is an area where we'd like to believe we are one of the larger players today in the US in the mid market kind of
What do you
mid market industrial distributors. So industrial distribution is selling B2B industrial equipment, parts, tools, things like that. So it's B2B, it's sold from business to business, and it's usually electronic, mechanical, electrical parts, so forth. Yeah, like auto parts and stuff like that. So we believe we have considerable scale there. So we have the potential to be a market leader in that space. So we are kind of working on taking kind of advantage of some of the domain knowledge we have developed, some of the expertise we have to kind of make that happen.
This sort of makes me the question which comes to my mind is, how did you get your US customer? What was that?
Sure.
How did you get the breakthrough? Yeah.
Sure. I think it's again, it's definitely a journey. We of course use digital marketing and remote inside sales teams. So all of that. So that's pretty standard in the industry, I guess. So I think everybody does that. And beyond that, I think it's all about building that relationship and also delivering every single day, right? So I think we are a strong believer in customer retention and customer. I think that's probably like 50% of our business today. We're just growing our customers and customer referrals. So if
First,
so first customer is you. I always tell I get opportunity to talk to and work with a lot of young startups. I make some investments in that space as well, and I always tell them the first customer buys for you and you alone. There's nothing else. So you have to go sell yourself to the first customer, and he trusts you and gives you the first deal. So that's how I did it, and that's how I think all entrepreneurs should do it. The first 10, 15 customers blindly trust you, and he believes that you will go fix everything that needs to be fixed to make it happen.
your
So if we
story,
can get
Siva.
that,
I need your story. How you sold it. You're
that's
on that question. You're not telling me how you actually sold to US. Like, I want
no. I mean, so it's that. That's. I mean, there's no secret to it, Ashish. So I can assure you, the first few customers who signed up to us
friends,
signed up only because he believed that okay, I met this person. I think he will figure it out, and I think he will do right by me. That's
who
it.
was who was that person for you in US?
That's
Which
me. That was me. So the founder. So that's what you got to do as a founder. You got to get in front of the customer and convince him that no matter what happens, you will deliver for him, and he's going to give you that deal only because he trusts you. If you can make that happen for 10 people, then you're on your way, right? So then you can kind of build a credible kind of team, credible business. You have referrals, and then that engine and the flywheel kind of starts to kind of slowly take off. It's a slow process, but I think the only way to break that chicken and egg is as a founder, you get in front of the customer. And I've made trips to the US. I've spent several weeks just meeting customers, anybody who would meet me and pitch, right? And if you just need those 5, 10 believers in you, and then you have something going. I mean, I haven't figured a better way out. If there is a better way, I'd love to learn, but this was what I did, at least, actually.
sure, makes sense, makes sense. It's a lot of hard work, grunt work to get the first one going, and then it sort of builds up
Yeah.
credibility once you start. So then moving to a little bit on finances. So you mentioned profitability. So what do you do with all that money? Where do you invest?
So again, one of the interesting parts for us is as a services business. I think mostly you're cash flow positive right from day one, right? So we actually generate excess cash flow, and we've and one thing, but I've realized, and painfully so, is you cannot throw money into the services business and expect growth. It doesn't work that way. Services business is a lot different than, say, the SaaS business where you throw money to acquire customers. Service business is all about process, expertise, relationship. So it's a lot harder to throw money. Money does not solve your problems. It helps, definitely. So we made investments, like for instance, we are in the Philippines today. We went to the Philippines and set up a delivery center there. We have offices in the US. So we've been able to make some investments to get the right people in all these locations. That's all helped. That doesn't necessarily solve your problem. It's all about getting the right people, in my mind. So, most of the money that we have generated has kind of gone away to kind of other things outside of the business. Having said that, we are definitely very excited about opportunities to acquire new companies. So that's something that's something that we're very open for. Just the right fit and the right timing. We're
Your
very open.
ticket size. If someone is listening, what's your ticket size?
So I think the criteria is more important in terms of their market focus, which markets they're selling to, the skill set it has to complement with us. If all those things work out, then maybe like around the 5 million mark is what we're looking to.
That's pretty good. Anyone listening, guys, Siva is an investor also. That's great. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I mean, then ultimately, then I will say like services business is great, right? I mean, people bash it a lot. Investors don't invest in it. But if you're able to do what you're doing, I mean, do you have any complaint about it?
I mean, so service business is not venture investable, right? So it's a crime if you try to raise money as a services player, right? So either you don't know venture investment, or you're trying to cheat somebody here, or don't understand it. So one of these three, right? So because obviously where are you going to put the money? You're your
Your
first few customers, you are selling yourself to these customers. So it's all about your expertise and what you bring to the table, and then you scale based on customer demand. You don't have to set up infrastructure up ahead. It's not manufacturing. So why do you need the money? So it's in my mind, services, and again, like I said, it's a very linear business, right? So the VC expects 10x return. You cannot give 10x return to the VC. Even if you raise money, one of you will be definitely disappointed, and I know which one it will be. So again, you're not going to help anybody win here. In my mind, I think services businesses are a lot better fit for organic growth. You kind of have to take it the traditional way. I haven't seen, except for maybe a couple of players who pulled it off. The vast majority, 99% of services businesses tend to scale organically. There's a lot of M&A happening though. So that's an interesting spot in the services area, where companies organically buy each other out with the cash flows that they have developed, and then are able to scale because they're able to acquire the right kind of partner companies along the way. So I think that's a better path for services businesses. More of the strategic buyouts and mergers that kind of give scale, complementary capabilities, and then that's kind of a lot more of a win-win. And maybe raising money to kind of enable companies to do that makes a lot more sense versus trying to kind of grow a business through that route.
Which are those Siva new age service company which has done really well scaled? Not the traditional Infosys and all, but any new one which has
Sure, I think there are a number of them. Like Taskus comes to mind. So Taskus is again Silicon Valley hyper funded, so they've kind of really grown. But they're outliers, right? So they haven't. I mean, they're not kind of the standard story, and then they're backed by large investors, and kind of that kind of opens up.
the services company.
Sorry, it's a services company, yes. Services company, yes. So that kind of opens up their doors for some of the large VC invested companies, and that's kind of been their path to grow. But I think that's not the path that anybody and everybody can take. So they're probably in a unique position to be able to accomplish that.
Understood. Understood. That's great. That's great. Pretty interesting. I mean, this landscape is getting interesting. Services guy coming in, SaaS people trying to build something and this fight ever evolving, and VCs like maybe things are changing. But appreciate it, Siva. Thank you so much for your time, really, and helping us understand with so much patience and having so much clarity. Anything you want to share from your side, which I may have missed?
No, I mean, of course, like I said, Personally, I also make some investments, always looking for investments in the right companies. So again, if there is any interest at all, feel free to reach out to me, anybody listening to this. And then thank you, Ashish, for your time and this opportunity. Lovely talking to you. Thanks for a lot of the insightful questions. Made me think as well. So great conversation. Thank you.
And which was your latest investment which you're really happy about?
So I'm kind of talking to this company, really excited about it in the accounting, financial tech space. So I'll kind of share it with you as soon as it's ready to go.